don't miss.
Never were truer words said in the history of competitive shooting. Anyways, welcome to today's edition of Pegasus Test. On today's edition, we're going over Lynx Brutality 2023 Stage 4 Vehicle Ambush. Now, this was a super fun and yet very challenging stage, even though it looks rather simplistic. So let's get right into it. What you had to do is you started out by the right front wheel of a deuce-and-a-half type truck. On the tire, you placed 3 magazines that only had 10 rounds in them. So 3 magazines for your rifle. There was a box by your feet there, and you had a very small tombstone-style steel target up on the berm. You had to engage with your pistol, 4 hits. Then you had a box you put your pistol in for safety, grabbed one of your magazines off the tire, crawled under that vehicle, went around the back, retrieved your rifle, jumped into a little firing port created by some tires. Then you had a cardboard tombstone target downrange that you had to engage with those 10 hits. That below it had a no shoot, and around it was the miss zone. And if you didn't get 10 hits, you took a 60-second penalty for each one you didn't get. And basically, you had to repeat this 3 times. So after you fired off that first magazine of 10, back under the truck, retrieve the pistol, 4 more hits, another magazine, boom, and keep doing that cycle until you've done it 3 times. And let me tell you, harder than it looks, because that gravel was like broken glass under it. And it was nice and thick in some places, so you'd put your foot down and feel it started to slide. Now, before I go any further, let me tell you about that cardboard tombstone target you see there that I'm engaging. That was done for safety requirements from the range. That was originally supposed to be an all-steel target because, as you know, in Brutality, whenever possible, we try to have steel targets because self-resetting, and you don't waste a lot of time having to paste up, and less work for the competitors and the range staff to have to handle. So, you know, whenever steel is possible, you go for it. Turns out that the safety people at the range determined the range we were firing the rifle was inside their comfort zone for safety firing on steel. So they just switched up, went to some paper targets, and that made for a more interesting challenge too. And we'll go about that when we talk on the other side. Well, let's take a look at my run.
Your rifle. Don't get that. Go, 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 go. Shoot fast, don't miss.
All right, that was super fun and super challenging. The pistol shooting, you had to be on. That was not a full-size target. It was basically about like an A-B zone size target maybe, it seemed to me. I might be misestimating the size there. But it was mounted up, so you're firing at an up angle and everything, and very challenging. But you got your 4 hits, you grab that magazine, then you're crawling under the vehicle. Nice thing is there was a fairly high center of gravity on this vehicle, so it had high ground clearance, so you didn't have to be belly low. If you look at my videos from Lynx Brutality last year where we crawled under the Sisu, yeah, when you were going under that axle and stuff, you really had to hug the ground. This one, you had a little bit more leeway, so if your butt wasn't all the way down, it wasn't going to penalize you. However, that gravel was because it was hard on the elbows, man, not going to lie. You come out, retrieve the rifle, dump behind the bunker there, put 10 shots in. Now here's the thing. Because you're firing at that cardboard, you think you're putting your 10 shots into it, but you don't really know because you're not getting feedback like you would from steel. So I ended up taking 2 penalties on this stage because somewhere in the string of 3 10-round magazines, I missed twice. Don't know when and where because I actually thought I kept up a very deliberate rate of fire, at least in my perception, and I thought every time I pulled that trigger, that dot was firmly in the brown of that target. Apparently, a couple times it wasn't. Didn't tag the no-shoot, yay, but it definitely went into the dirt somewhere and not onto the paper. So, no instant feedback there. Not that it would have mattered because you're limited to 10 rounds. If you missed, you missed. So missing had a high penalty on this stage. I took 120 seconds in penalties on what otherwise would have been a pretty darn good score. But it was a super fun stage. A lot of practicality in the fact that they called it vehicle ambush. Okay, you're simulating you've just bailed out, engaged with your pistol. Would you be running back and forth with ammo? Maybe not. Maybe if you're kind of a pogue kind of guy, maybe you would. An infantry guy, no, you'd have that in your 782 gear for sure. But crawling under a vehicle, that's a very military task. And that gravel, like I've said several times, made it a little bit more challenging than maybe you wanted it to be. I had a super amount of fun on this stage. It was very challenging. And that theme, as you keep hearing me say it, you're going to keep hearing me say it because that carries out through the match. Every stage was a challenge, and it made it just that much more fun. We're hoping you're enjoying this coverage of Lynx Brutality 2023. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in tomorrow for Stage 5.